Greetings. So, a couple of weeks ago, I made a video about schizoid personality disorder and bipolar disorder and how those two things don't mix. And so I realized in doing that, I kind of, cultivated some confusion because it's really difficult to parse what exactly I'm talking about because I presented those two things together rather than, presenting them separately. And so I just kind of want to expound upon schizoid personality disorder, exactly what it is and how it's affected me. And so that being said, I am not a psychologist, professional. I only know the experiences that I have, and so that's the position that I am speaking from, is from my diagnosis, from just what I've experienced. And so take that as you want. So first off, schizoid personality disorder is mostly characterized by a lack of pleasure, a lack of emotional capacity, and mostly in reference to social interactions. A lot of schizoid people avoid social interactions and avoid making meaningful connections with other people. And this is because those connections just make us very, very uncomfortable. And so a lot of schizoid people kind of don't subscribe to, a lot of socially constructed roles, ideas, and so a lot of them are asocial, and so that's like the first thing that you think about when you think of schizoid, if you know anything about schizoid. A lot of them are emotionally just blunt, not able to experience the full range of emotions, or at least a diminished capacity to experience the full range, because like every disorder, it's a spectrum. I don't completely understand it, but it's a diminished capacity to experience emotions, either diminished or none at all. And I don't know exactly what the cutoff is, but it's definitely diminished. Also, a lot of people with schizoid are they don't really give a shit about gender roles, and a lot identify as agender because who cares? A lot of schizoids are also asexual. I personally am agender and asexual, and I just don't experience sexual attraction to other people. I'm also pretty aromantic as well, which is also in line with a lot of other schizoids, where you just have a diminished capacity to connect with other people. I avoid emotional connections with others like the fucking plague. And I think the best thing to happen to schizoids is the internet, because it allows us to interact with others in a way that we can control it, and in a way that you don't have to become fully immersed in this experience of being social. And so I think the internet has been good for schizoids to connect with one another and to, get more information. It's just a passing of information. In my interactions with the people around me, my fiance, my family, my friends, I build a wall to insulate myself from becoming completely immersed in the emotional experience of being around other people. And a lot of schizoids are not, they don't have issues with being socially anxious. They don't have social anxiety. They don't fear interactions with other people. They just don't like them. And so that is the main difference, is between being a person with social anxiety disorder and being a person with schizoid. So if you're a person that, you know, is super just freaked out by talking to the waitstaff at a restaurant, you're not schizoid. Schizoids are not so much scared of that kind of stuff. They just avoid it because why bother? Unless it's something that you absolutely need, why bother? For me, I have had a good bit of training from my mother in how to, I guess, act like a normal person, how to be a social person, or present myself as a social person. And so I'm pretty good at interpersonal relationships and kind of reining in myself from, you know, I don't know, connecting completely with anyone, while seeming like I am completely just plugged in and connected. My mom taught me empathy pretty well. A lot of schizoids, they have a very diminished capacity for experiencing empathy, guilt, and shame. Guilt for me is, I don't really think about it. Shame, though, I do experience shame. And it's funny because shame is a social construct. It's based on ideas of what we think is wrong, and it's kind of conditioned into us to be ashamed of things. And so it sometimes I think about it and I'm frustrated, but it's just the way it is. I experience shame. It's whatever. But empathy is always very hard to emulate and very hard to, like, I guess, it's just difficult. It's draining, and I mean, why do it, to be honest? In saying this, like, my mom taught me that people that don't experience the full range of emotions, that don't feel invested in social interactions, they're bad people. And I think a lot of people assume that schizoids, because they have different ideas of right and wrong, of morality, and of what makes a fulfilling life, I think that, I don't know, it kind of changes the way that we personally think of ourselves. And so I was, you know, super conditioned to think that I'm just a bad person. And that's not true. Schizoids can be just as bad or just as good as any person who's not schizoid. And so I consider myself to be a pretty good person. I am immensely considerate. I just don't think of things the same way a person without schizoid does. And so, I mean, I wouldn't do something to hurt someone. I don't know. I'm just rambling now. Okay, let me talk about friends and stuff. I said that I build this wall, like a lot of schizoids. They have just a buffering zone, where shit does not go beyond that buffering zone of emotion, like, or of interaction, of intimacy, or whatever you want to call it. And so people don't get into the inner sanctum of whoever you are. They don't get to know you completely. And I feel that is something that is common with making friends. It's really difficult because I think a lot of schizoids can relate to this, that they have people in their lives that aren't their friends. They're not close to them, like, by any stretch of the imagination. But they're not just acquaintances either. They're not just colleagues. They're not just people that you see at work. They're a degree beyond acquaintances, but below friends. There's no word for that. And it's interesting because these are the people, like, if they died tomorrow, like, you wouldn't care. And that sounds really bad for people that aren't schizoid. But schizoid people, they get it. You get it. And I don't know, I'm rambling now. I'm having difficulty kind of getting things together in my head. But earlier today I was doing some research about it because I didn't want to come into this video just, you know, blabbing on about shit that has no consequence. And I saw that there was a paper that was outlining different types of schizoid personality disorder, which is interesting to me. I've never heard of that. But there are different types, apparently. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I did see it, so maybe there'll be more information about it. But I saw that there were 4 different types. There's, shit, you know, of course I can't remember them. The one that's associated with depression. There's one that is associated with dissociation and kind of a detachment from the entire experience as a human being. And that seems to be the one for me, at least, that I relate to the best, because I do detach not only from emotional and social experiences, but my experience as a human being, and sometimes it's a little weird. Then there is, let me just look it up. There's remote, and so those are the people that are really super isolated. And then affectless. And affectless is what most schizoids think of when they think of schizoid personality disorder, is pretty much, you know, super expressionless, deadpan, very quiet, very reserved, no motivation, and no emotional expression. And so it seems like there's going to be some more information out there in coming years, perhaps, but schizoid is overwhelmingly unresearched. Like a lot of issues that come with, you know, psychological problems. I think that in the future we'll have more information about it, but at the moment we don't. Because it's a personality disorder, there's not really a whole lot of treatment for it. And I would wager that people with schizoid don't typically care about getting treatment. Like, I personally, I don't want to get treated for it because it's not really something that is impairing my life in any way. The only way that it really impairs my life is in reference to other people. It hurts people's feelings sometimes, but to me, that just comes with the territory of being a person. It doesn't really bother me because I don't accumulate all these people in my life to hurt. I just am. Blah. This video sucks. I'm sorry. But yeah, those are my thoughts on schizoid, and hopefully I helped to clear up some of the issues that I might have caused in my other video. But yeah, I'll probably be making another video today, so be on the lookout for that shit. Pieces.